Hello there. Today I'm going to be talking about Ghost Hound. It's an anime that I saw a little bit over a month ago, and I enjoyed it a lot at the time. After having a little bit of time to think or soak in about it, I do still like it a lot, at least its tone. Although it's not exactly the most exciting of anime. It really, I used it a lot to fall asleep at night. So it is very slow, and it's not a bad slow. It's not where they're going on and on for minutes on end about how evil the evil thing is. It's more just very slow paced, almost like a Stanley Kubrick film, where important information is being doled out slowly, but it is not exactly delivered in the most exciting of ways. Anyway, for example, the background music is very good, I want to say, kind of. I like it, but it's more like I like it in the sense that I'd kind of like it as the background music to my life because it would just be so relaxing. It would be impossible to have a temper tantrum with that kind of music playing in the background. I swear they used like a shishiodoshi. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's basically one of those canals or whatever, not canals, but tubes, and they have a bottom. But basically what happens is when it rains, the tube fills up, and then since it's on a fulcrum, when water fills up over here-ish, the shishiodoshi hits the ground and pours out all the water, and then of course it flies back into its original stating. And you get this kind of doink sound or dong sound to it, and I swear that sound was just playing so much, and it's almost as if they're hypnotizing you while watching it. And I really do think that's one of the contributing things that made me fall asleep during it so much, is just that. But anyway, back to the story. So basically it opens up with a character, the main character pretty much, who does he's kind of boring, but I mean, he's obviously done that way so that the audience can sympathize with him. But he doesn't really have any outstanding characteristics. He's just a normal guy, you know? And he's not particularly interesting. He's just kind of there. He's there for the audience to empathize and put themselves into his shoes. You find out that when he was young, he was abducted along with his sister, and he watched his sister starve to death, or at least dehydrate to death, something along those lines. And even with that going on, he's still a completely normal person. He has absolutely no problems, pretty much. Anyway, but despite not having any problems, he does occasionally see a school counselor, which I kind of liked because you really rarely do see any kind of counseling or therapy in any, not even anime, but movies or television shows in general, unless it's relevant to the plot. I mean, really, the only examples I could think of is probably, what's the Sopranos? I was going to say, what's Tony Soprano's show? Yeah, Sopranos. Anyway, so moving on. Eventually, a new kid moves into town, and you find out that his father works for the corporation that just built some kind of big building over around the other side of the mountain, and the visuals aren't particularly striking in this. And even the Ghost Hound part, basically what happens is the new kid and the main character and then this bully, well, I don't know, badass with a heart of gold, that's basically his character. They go to where the main character and his sister were tied up or abducted to, and they kind of have an outer body experience, and they find out that now they can go out of their body whenever they want, and that's about it. Like, it really is kind of tacked on, and I wondered if it's more prominent in the manga, if they deliver more exposition about it through it in the manga, because it does feel very tacked on and pointless in the anime. It's almost as if it's there just to have it be sort of add into the supernatural element, because without it, it's really just a detective show. And I think they do their detective work quite well. Mostly what I enjoyed about it was just how they were constantly asking for questions, and they very rarely got the argument of, you're just a kid, you don't know what you're talking about, go away. You know, they usually did get answers for their questions, even if the answers were misleading or not completely divulging all the information at hand. And they go about their way, and the ending really didn't, like, I didn't like it a lot. It was just kind of boring. It didn't really do anything for itself. I think really it was just kind of a problem of they were building it up so much that there really was no way. I kind of, the ending didn't disappoint me very much, but it's because I kind of felt like they were building it up too much and that it wasn't going to be that good. Because the writing, it's pretty decent, but it's not amazing. Like, it's basically not dumb, and it's not even normal. Like, it's above normal, but not really good. In those 4 layers that I just explained to you in terms of story writing. But no, it really just couldn't, it didn't, like, divulge any information. Like, I think the most interesting aspects were probably how they would occasionally try to incorporate psychology into supernatural elements, like, why do people see ghosts, or how can people have outer body experiences, and things like that. And it was interesting to see them, use real psychological terminology to try to explain it away. But by the end of the hospital episode, which is about episode 6 or 10, I want to say, they really kind of drop all psychology stuff. And it's kind of funny because there's a doctor and a counselor, or at least psychologist, in the supporting cast, and they really don't need to be in the plot anymore. Like, the only reason why they're there is because they're grown-ups, and they're going to fight grown-ups if grown-ups need to be fought. But that never happens. Like, they never really are used, in my opinion. So moving on, getting back to the ending and what I disliked about it was, you really don't know what, you do know what happened. Basically what happened was, they were going to try to raise this god spirit in the form of this girl, and their plans are foiled. Spoiler. But yeah, it wasn't, like, done particularly well. Like, basically there's a giant kind of wind dragon going down a mountain, and the audience needs to have it explained to them what's going on, because if you just see a wind dragon going down a mountain, you don't really have any context for what's happening. So of course there's one person that says, oh no, the spirit of blah 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 is coming here to inhabit the body of a girl, and things like that. And you're like, oh, thank you for explaining it to me. But if that person hadn't been there for that pointless exposition, even how minute it is, you would just be like, what's going on? I have no clue. So anyway, that's my main problem with it. But no, like, it is very intriguing, and they do eventually find out why he and his sister were abducted, a little bit different, and why she died, and they do their mysteries very well, at least the ones that they solve. It's the supernatural element that is the weakest and the most tacked on, and it really just didn't serve the story at all. They could have had it, like, for example, the boy who just moves to town. One day he sneaks into his father's new corporate building over as an out-of-body experience. But really, they could have done it where it's just like he snuck into his dad's back trunk and then waited for his dad to get to work, and then he snuck in the building as well, and then maybe climbed in through a few vents. And they could have explained the story just the same way. You see, it's just they took the supernatural elements because they had to or wanted to, or something like that. If you want my opinion, the original manga author probably thought it would be really cool to have, Ghost Hound detective boys, or at least boys who can have outer body experiences in the shape of dogs to solve crime. And he probably didn't know where to go with that after he thought about it. He's like, alright, I got this great mystery, but how do I solve it? And, like, other than having it be just a very base minimum, that's really the only thing I could have done. So anyway, that's pretty much my review of it, and it is enjoyable. I enjoyed it, but it has those shortcomings. But if you like mystery, I really recommend it. If you like supernatural, I kind of don't. Even though it does have it, it's just not well done. Anyway, thank you.